Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Two Girls, One Doc.
One Doc.
It's your girl, BD.
It's your girl, Forens.
The fiance.
The fiance.
And we're back. We're back with another episode today. This one's a bit wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had all sorts of feelings as I was watching this particular episode. I just
thought it was weird that I don't remember the case at all because it wasn't that long ago. I think it ended in 2018 and I have no recollection of this at all. But yeah, let's get into it.
Yeah, I guess it leads back to, just to add on that, I think it leads back to just like the whole thing about people, like obviously gay rights and just the approach to topics that are, the approach to crimes that take place within the LGBT community, and just...
I don't know, I don't think that was as much of an issue in this documentary.
No, but I mean the fact that it was it had to be underreported for you to not hear about it. Because if something like that was happening, like, amongst the heterosexual community, I feel like we would have known.
I don't know,
Let's get into it. So the documentary opens up and it's called The Man Who Used HIV as a Weapon, as we mentioned last week. So the documentary opens up with a collage of different news clips. So there's BBC, I think there's ITV, a few others. And it's kind of like a montage of people talking about this man called Daryl Rowe. And basically we learned that he was deliberately infecting men with HIV. Which is just like...
Like, why would you do that?
Why? It's scary.
It's actually despicable.
I had a moment where literally when I was watching this, I paused and I started talking to because my fiance is a doctor. We start talking about like sexual health and just like situations like this. Like it's so scary because I remember when I was younger, my mum always used to say like, you know, AIDS doesn't show on the face, like, or HIV, you can't tell.
Yeah, no sexual transmitted
yeah, obviously
disease.
No sexual, but yeah, like, but obviously with those ones, those are the ones that were like really like stigmatized as being the worst. And it's just scary that there are people walking around who not only have it, but willingly like go out and share it or give it to people without them knowing. So it was petrifying. So when we've seen the collage, we now see a bunch of different men sitting down, and you can see that they're prepping to be part of this documentary. And that's something I really love when they do this in documentaries. Like, I like when you kind of see the behind the scenes, not just the clinical, okay, we've put through a documentary. Like, I actually like when we see the normal people sitting down and stuff like that. So we learned that these were all the victims. And obviously, when you think of victims, you immediately think that they're all obviously infected with HIV. So that was what was going through my mind when I saw all of them. And I don't know about you, but I didn't write everybody's name because there were quite a few of them.
I did. You know what it is? So
I only wrote one.
The way that this documentary was, it was very like all over the shop. So it would show like one guy talking about something, then another guy talking about something, then another guy, then it go back to the first guy and talk. So when I was writing my notes, I was like, do I just group them all by name or do I just kind of go as the documentary goes? So it's not confusing, but it's a bit like discombobulating when you're trying to discuss what's going on. But I wrote the names and I wrote descriptions because I knew I would forget what they look like. So yeah, I got that done.
Yeah, I didn't. That's literally the reason I didn't write names. The documentary was an excellent watch. Like, I was never bored. I never lost interest.
I think BBC do well, didn't they?
They do very well. But it's difficult to narrate the documentary just because it's
that's
very
what I mean,
visual.
Yeah. As in, if I were you guys, I would actually watch it.
Yeah, literally. So the first question the producer asks the victims is, how did you meet Daryl? So one of the guys says through Grindr, another one says through the gym. Then two others don't really stipulate how they met him, but they just say that, you know, everybody says the same thing, i.e. he was really good looking. And we see kind of like clips of him during this time. And one even says they thought he was Italian, and I also thought he was Italian as well. BD's making a face. I think he's good looking, but because you know what he did, you're like, no.
Yeah, probably.
And I especially could see why a white person or white gay guys
someone
would
attracted
be,
to white guys. I can see why they would be
attracted to him.
I mean, I don't think he's anything special. Like, I don't know, like, obviously this is definitely a stereotype, but like, you know, when someone says they're Italian, like, you think, oh, okay. Do you know what I mean?
I think of Mario Falcone from Towie.
Yeah, but you just imagine a bit of je ne sais quoi. I don't know what the Italian version of that is,
Yeah.
But with Daryl, it's like, he just looks like a young, good-looking white guy. Like, I feel like, to some extent, like, everyone who's young is automatically, like, you're already a 5. Do you know what I mean? And then, like, you're tall, and then you're, like, conventionally good-looking. Like, okay, cool, now you're a 6, you're a 7, you're a 8.
I think he's good looking either way. I prefer older white guys, but
like the salt and pepper guys.
Yeah, salt and pepper.
Yeah. That's
I literally cannot wait for my man to get like greys. I'm gonna be all over him.
All over the shop.
All over the shop. So again, another common theme that goes on with this part of them discussing meeting him is it seemed very kind of, he was looking to hook up. They all kind of said the same thing.
Everyone kind of knew what they were on.
Yeah, he invited them round. One guy even said he went there and the door was open and he just walked in. And obviously, without going into detail, like, he has sex with all of them. And each of them say he was quite adamant that he wanted unsafe sex. So one of the victims basically says, well, he wasn't on safe sex, and he told him that he wanted to use a condom. And this kind of, the interaction between
this is Stuart. He's the brown haired nerdy looking guy, right?
No, he's not brown. He's the, is he the brown one?
He's the first one that tells the story. Are you going in order?
Yeah.
He's the first one that tells the story. His name is Stuart.
Yeah. He looks so cute. I could just imagine him being like a lab tech. I don't know why.
Same.
So he says that the exchange took quite a while for them to even lead up to having sex, because he was quite adamant he wanted to use a condom. So he gets there and he gives, he puts on the condom kind of thing. And even he gets there, like, Daryl is still trying to, like, not torment him, but kind of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like gaslight him.
Not gaslight, but make him feel a bit like, do you really want to use a condom? You're one of those ones. Like,
yeah, but that is gaslighty.
Is that
it's like,
gaslighty?
It is, because it's like, oh, are you dumb? Like, you want to use a condom? Like, do you really want to use a condom? Like, it's making you feel like you're wrong for doing what is right.
I guess, yeah. So, basically, he thinks he puts on a condom. They have sex.
He thinks Daryl puts on the condom.
He thinks Daryl puts on the condom, and then they have sex. And after they have sex, he basically sees that there's no, like, semen in the condom. And he's thinking to himself, what the hell happened? But he's like, I saw this guy, like, use the condom. So he puts it behind his mind and leaves.
And can we just I don't know if this is where you want to point this out, if you mentioned this, but this is known as stealthing. Like,
I put it there. I
don't know if you watched I May Destroy You, but this just reminds me of that episode of I May Destroy You where the guy basically does the same thing, and they don't think that it's rape, but it actually is.
Yeah, and I do. So I was just, but like BT said, I was just about to mention that like some people don't realize that it's rape. Like a lot of guys do this. A lot, like, it is so. I almost feel like I don't know a woman who has been sexually active that something like this hasn't happened to. For a lot of women, it happens, and like, because it's so common, and because someone who it's happened to, you put it behind your mind and you're just like, it's guys just do this, whatever. But it literally, if a guy's having sex with you and you didn't consent to having bareback or without a condom, whatever you want to call it, it's rape. Like, you've been violated.
You didn't consent to that.
Literally, and we talk about this a bit more later on in the documentary, but it's really, really scary. So all of the guys narrate their sexual experiences with Daryl. One of them even spent the night, the other one left. And they all have this really common theme, which is after they've left Daryl and they've gone home their own way, they start to get a series of abusive messages from Daryl. They don't go into detail in the series of events, but the way it comes across is that, everybody knew what it was. They've gone on to go back to their lives. And Daryl then cannot handle the fact that he's not getting the attention he wanted from these guys, and then things kind of degenerate and become very abusive and controlling, and one of them ends up blocking him. So he then starts to taunt these people and torment them and say, well, anyways, you're dirty slag, I didn't have sex with you with a condom. And then he tells one of them that he actually has HIV. And he uses it to mock them. He's like, yeah, like, I've given you a full load of it. And obviously, this is a very scary period for these men. And one of them actually...
Sorry, no, go on.
One of them actually says that after he received these messages, he asked Daryl, are you being serious? And Daryl airs him for ages. And obviously, can you imagine someone is telling you, like, I have HIV, and you've had unprotected sex with this person, and you're asking them for clarification and they're not responding to you.
Mm-hmm. And they're not responding in retaliation to the fact that you didn't respond to them.
Yeah.
It's not like, he suddenly got busy and work was really hectic. It literally is like, oh, well, you didn't want to reply to me, now you want a response. And after you just dropped this bomb.
Literally, one time he even says, oh, it's not nice, is it?
Yeah.
And the producer of the documentary says something really key. Basically, with the way HIV works now, or the way the medication works, like, science has progressed so much. There are drugs you can take if within 72 hours of being exposed to HIV that will actually kind of stop the virus from spreading through your system. So basically, if you've had unprotected sex with someone who has HIV, if you take this medication within 72 hours, you could be all right. But Daryl has left it so long that they are past that period.
Exactly. Where
they can take the medication. Exactly. And again, it's all of these things just make you feel like, what the actual fuck?
And so this is why, we get into, you know how they do this. Someone's done something wrong. This is a typical documentary. Someone's done something wrong. We learn about what they did, and then we learn about their lives and what could possibly have driven them to do that thing. Like, that typically happens in the documentary. Same thing happens here. And is this bit about the narrator saying, you know, he intentionally waited longer than that time. That literally, like, it just voids anything that I'm yet to learn about him. There's nothing that could have happened in your life that can make me think that it's okay that you did what you did. Yeah. Especially knowing that, like, you did what you did on purpose.
Yeah, and
it's not a mistake.
Even scary about this, it's that some people, when they're sick or whatever it is, they don't have the normal symptoms. So some of these guys could have gone, like, ages without knowing they had HIV.
And then it becomes AIDS.
Exactly. Or some of them, you know, one of them even said he blocked Daryl until Daryl started calling him on, like, you know, as a private call or whatever. Have known. And then it would have been AIDS. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually so frightening that somebody can do this to another human being. Yeah. Like, it's actually terrifying.
It's not an accident.
At all. No shape or form. So now we're in North Berwick. And I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But every time we do a documentary that's based in the UK, I feel like I learn a different part of the UK that I'd never heard of.
Do you know, I've decided that this year, because I'm probably not going to be able to go anywhere, I'm going to just travel around the UK, just go do up staycations in this UK, because where am I going to go?
If the UK's even open, what are you going to do camp if the hotels aren't open? Oh, God, that's it's some bullshit. And guys, I'm sorry to digress. They are still not fucking testing people. They are still
when they come in? I thought they are.
Yeah. Somebody just came in, was tweeting about how they just came in. They didn't even check to see if their COVID, like, certificate was negative.
That's wild.
We are never leaving this shit. It's just going to be, like, I was telling my mum today, it feels like we are reliving the same day. Well, the same week, because the weekends are a bit different. But we just keep reliving the same, it's like a nightmare.
But you know what? On the other hand, I cannot believe that I used to go to work for 5 days a week and still do things on the weekend. How did I do that? How did I ever do that?
It's going to take a lot of, I don't even know, to get back to normal life.
Because I can't, like, now I'm just like, I used to go to work and then in the evening I'll go out and do things and then go to work the next day. Who is she? Like, who did that?
Literally, by 5:30, I'm crawling to my bed these days.
Oh, girl.
So, we're meeting Daryl's foster parents in North Berwick, and they basically say that Daryl grew up as a loving, sociable kid. He's so different from the guy they know today.
Okay.
He came from a very difficult and troubled childhood, and they were very surprised when they learned about Daryl's antics, basically.
Crimes. I think it's very obvious what the crime here today is, so we don't even need to go into that.
Yeah. So we're back to the victims now, and the men go and get tested, and one of them actually finds out that he's positive.
Yes, Stuart.
Stuart. So we see this really weird clip from Daryl's YouTube, which he's talking about healthy living, being vegan,
The first thing he
really-
said was, I'm Daryl Rowe, I'm vegan.
I'm vegan. I'm very passionate about treating my body well. You are what you eat. And there's many things that I do that many people might think that, oh, that's weird, that's not right. I don't drink, I don't smoke, don't do anything like that.
And I thought about you. You know when you're like, why can't vegans just be vegan? Like, why do they always have to tell us they're
Why
vegan?
do you always have to let someone know that you're vegan? Literally. Vegans and Christian virgins are literally, they are one in the same when it comes to
the first place.
Literally everybody. How long will it take if a vegan and virgin Christian enter a bar? Who's going to tell you what they are
Who's gonna
first?
tell you first?
Literally. So basically he's on the YouTube talking about this, and basically the documentarian is saying that he kept his, status a secret. People didn't know, even his family. He never mentioned it on YouTube. I just was like, how funny is it that you go online and you talk about managing what you put in your body and healthy living, but you are unwell and you are going around and intentionally spreading it.
And the thing that makes it more annoying is that, like, HIV today is not like what it was before. Like, for instance, saying it was very stigmatized before, there was no treatment. But now you can take medications. So I think you can take retrovirals, which reduce the viral load. So that means that you're less likely to pass it on to people. So like people with HIV can live normal lives. They can have healthy sex lives as long as they keep taking their medication. They're not likely to pass on HIV, which is the problem, right? Yeah. And so Daryl's like, no, he's not taking these medications, and he decides that he's going to drink his own urine as a cure because he reads that on the internet. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, in what way is urine going to cure a viral infection?
Literally, and the thing is just that, like, I just don't. I cannot. I don't. This is the height of wickedness. That's all I can say.
And it's also stupidity.
Yeah.
Because you're stupid to think that drinking your urine was going to... What? Drinking your urine can help you?
No. Do you believe that he was actually... Or he just said he was?
I think he actually was doing these things. I think he actually was doing it. But, okay, I don't think that it's I don't think his excuse that he gives later on is valid. I think it's a lie.
Yeah.
Because there's too much premeditation for you to come and act like, I thought I was healed, yeah. But, like, I think that maybe initially he did think that drinking his urine was... I can imagine him drinking his urine.
I've heard that drinking urine thing before, though. But people are...
But urine...
I'm sorry, but...
I don't understand. Urine is waste product. The urine is the your body saying bye-bye.
You're fucking stupid. Like, you're literally... I don't know what people think their pee is. Like, that you're drinking it. Because literally, it is the... Literally, it's the toxins from your body that your body is
saying no.
ridding itself of. And then you're then drinking it again. Why would I drink?
So now double concentrate toxin.
Like, would you eat your shit? If you know you're not going to eat your shit, why would you drink your
pee? I don't get it.
We've been watching too much porn. That's what it is. Golden showers. Funnily enough, sidebar, I watched the episode of In the Office when they were trying to give Jan a baby shower, and Michael walks into the room and he's like, Phyllis, we all came in here and gave you a golden shower.
Oh, yes,
Where's my golden shower?
Oh, Michael. I'm on the episodes now where he's left, and I'm just like...
I know.
Yeah, I know.
So now we're back to Stuart, who was the victim that tested positive, and he basically
after being stealthed by Daryl, which makes me so annoyed, because it's like, I understand people like will blame the victim and say, oh well, you should have had protected sex or whatever. Either way, it's wrong, because you say we decide we're not gonna use a condom. Yeah, if you know that you have HIV, then surely you disclose that to me, and then I can consent to having unprotected sex with somebody with HIV. But you didn't do that. But either way, Stuart says, look, I need us to use a condom. And he sort of like pretends to use a condom and doesn't. So it's like, in Stuart's mind, like, he did all the right things.
Yeah. Literally. And I think we touch on this again, but it's so scary. Like, it's so sad in any situation when you do everything you're meant to do and things still go horribly wrong. And I can't imagine in a situation where somebody else has violated you in such a horrible way, because I'm not saying, I don't know how I feel about whether people should and shouldn't disclose to you that they have HIV before you sleep with someone. But what I do know is, if somebody wants to use a condom, you should use one. And if you have HIV, you should use a condom.
But I do think that you should disclose your status,
Yeah.
especially if you're going to have unprotected sex, because then
I
because
agree.
you're not making a fully informed decision as the person sleeping with that person.
Yeah, but that's what I
See
mean.
what I
Like,
mean?
if you have it, you 100% always should use a condom, unless you're like in a committed relationship where both of you have figured out how you're
But the
going to
thing
do
is, even if
But-
you're on medication, then you having unprotected sex doesn't mean that the other person's going to get infected with it.
What do you mean?
If you're on medication,
Yeah.
then the viral load is reduced, so you can have sex with somebody unprotected and not pass on the virus.
But is it 100% sure you're not going to pass it on?
Yeah.
Okay, well, fine.
Depends on what your viral load is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like even if that's the case, you should be able to say to someone, look, this is...
It's just, I understand the stigmatization around it.
Yeah, I mean, there is that. It's definitely a lot better nowadays.
Yeah.
I think. Because I don't hear him think, oh my God, like, you're going to die.
Yeah, like the episode of Girlfriends.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it is better, but obviously there is ignorance and like people don't always know and stuff like that. But I do think that, I don't know, it's like, for example, say someone had chlamydia. It's like, do you not think that they should tell them that they have chlamydia before they sleep with them? Okay, so why not HIV then?
No, with chlamydia, I feel like it's the same way I feel with HIV. I feel like not that you only need to. It's up to you personally what you're going to do.
Obviously, do what you're going to do. But if it were me, I would like to know. I would like to be told so that I can then be like, cool, yeah, fuck it, I'll still sleep with you. But I don't want to.
I feel like, personally, for me, I feel like if just create an environment where that person is as protected as possible. Like,
and you as well, because you can have HIV and catch chlamydia.
Exactly. So it literally goes two ways. Either way, like, bareback is life, but wrap it up. Like, unless the two of you have an arrangement or whatever, wrap that shit all the way up. So we're now in October 2015, and Daryl has gone on the run. Because, as we said, Stuart has gone to the police with Daryl's address, screenshots of the conversation, and a description of what Daryl looks like. So Daryl is now on the run, because I'm assuming that after this situation with Stuart, they went to speak to him a few times. Probably before they could make an arrest or do anything serious, he went on the run. And again, this all just leads to the fact that this guy was intentionally and inherently wicked, because if you were just doing this, say you were in a rough place, you made a mistake, you were sleeping with people unprotected knowing you have HIV, then when you get caught, you're gonna chill out. But the fact that he went on the run just shows that he was on a mission from the devil to spread this thing.
Yeah, literally. Because you didn't go on the run and lay low. Literally. You went on the run and continued.
So he's in Brighton now, and he's using the same dating app, Grindr. And he meets...
I feel like Grindr has such a bad rep.
Literally. But then people will never stop using it because it serves a purpose.
Yeah, of course.
Like
and
Tinder.
it's not the app. The app is not the problem. It's the
it's
certain people on the app.
Yeah, it's true. But isn't that what they said in the Sugar Baby documentary we did? He was like, I did not design this app for...
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but come on. This is all adult consenting. All adults, all consenting.
They're all consenting on that app too. But
they're not all. They're not all. Yeah, exactly.
So, when he's in Brighton, he meets a new guy and he pressures him into sex.
This guy's called Lenny.
I was about to ask you, is it Lenny, the American guy?
Yeah.
Was that his name? Oh, okay. I don't know. Oh, Tom was the other guy. Yeah. Okay. So where he's in Brighton, he meets Lenny and he pressures him into having unprotected sex. And Lenny's like, no, he's similar to Stuart. He's like, no, I'm not on this. Like, you're going to use a condom. Mm-hmm. So Lenny comes over and, he sees him with his own eyes put on this condom and they have sex. So then it says after they've had sex, again, it's the same pattern. Things start to get weird. He becomes extremely possessive and rude. And so Lenny blocks him.
Mm-hmm.
As you do. Daryl then keeps contacting him on an unknown number, calls, messages. And then 2 weeks later, Lenny starts to feel really ill. And again, this is back to what I was saying about in all this time that he's been messaging him, he hasn't mentioned that he has HIV to Lenny.
He didn't give him the courtesy of the 72 hours. I may, even if you don't want to be like, I have it, you could just say, I may have it. It'd be good for you to go and get checked. Exactly.
So 2 weeks later, Lenny starts to get ill and he decides to get his regular tests done. And he tests positive for HIV. So when he goes to the clinic, because what I've now learned is that if there's something wrong with your like sexual health screen or whatever, they actually give you a call rather than just
Then text
a
you.
message saying all clear or whatever. So he goes to the clinic for the consultation, and the woman is asking him, because I think it's a normal thing for them to ask you where you caught it, just so they can be aware of situations exactly like this.
Yeah,
So,
and also they can know, it's like track and trace, what track and trace is doing. You can find out who else you slept with and notify them and see if they're infected and stop them from spreading and stuff.
So he explains to her that who he believes he'd gotten it from. And, even for him, he was saying it was difficult because he always uses protection. So he really had to sit down and be like, who could it possibly have been?
Exactly.
And then obviously flipping Daryl and his crazy ass, like put red flags in anybody's head.
Sirens.
So he's probably like, literally like, oh, if anybody, it's this guy. So the nurse basically says there have been other cases.
Because Daryl's Scottish.
Literally.
And that accent you can spot from a mile away.
Exactly. So he's like, there are other people who have come in saying this Scottish guy has, exposed them to HIV. So at this point, then he's like, no ma'am, no sir. He's going to the police. So finally Daryl gets arrested, and we're all thinking, oh my gosh, this is it. Finally, this nightmare is over. People can be safe. His phone was seized. It shows that he's targeting gay men nationwide, and a health warning is released. So we see the interview tape with Daryl.
You have HIV. Have you had a HIV test recently?
Not recently, but I was talking to Brian about I had a relationship when I first got here, and it was unprotected, so I've not been tested after that.
He's basically lying in this tape, saying that he's not sure that he's positive. He's really nervous now because obviously the police officers have told him.
Crock of bullshit.
Literally a crackpot. And I'm just like, this is how it was intentional.
Yeah.
Because if you had any remorse, or if you felt bad, you could be like, yeah, I know I've got HIV. I didn't mean to spread it, blah, blah, blah. But he's acting like he doesn't know, almost implying that he possibly caught it from one of the victims that he gave it to.
Yeah.
So because...
And it's like, we know that you know. Because it's not like they did a test and, it was never documented. Like, we know the day that you tested positive and they called you to tell you or told you to come into the clinic to tell you. So there's verification that you know that you are positive.
But I feel like there's a lot of probably denial on his part about his status.
Yeah, that's why he's drinking urine.
Yeah, I mean, obviously. And also because the day he was told he was positive, the next day was when he made that YouTube video. And I mean, I'm not saying that if you have HIV, you should lay down and die. But obviously, like, I feel like he probably had... He probably disassociated himself with his diagnosis. Because I think it's normal for anybody who's told that they have this virus to have a moment where they're figuring stuff out and being like, oh my goodness. But he the next day jumped on YouTube talking about being vegan. And so I feel like there was a lot of disassociation with this.
And maybe that's really the case in terms of even with him, like, sleeping with these guys and stuff. It's like in his mind, he doesn't have it. Yeah,
I agree. So because the British judicial system is weird, Daryl is then released on bail. I've been watching a lot of Law and Order SVU, and there is no way a guy like this would have gotten bail. There is no way he would have gotten bail. They would have been like, no, remand. Like, you are literally moving around. You're going
to continue doing what you're doing.
Yeah, like an assault rifle. No,
like, it's not like oh, you were robbing banks and you're out on bail, but you're under house arrest, and we got a tag on and we know where you are. Like, none of that. Like, literally, do you know how many people he can infect in the time that he's on bail? Literally.
So they also forced him to start taking HIV medication, because I don't know if we previously...
I'm so happy they did that, because I'm like, why do I want you to live more than you want you to live? I don't understand.
I don't even think they cared about him living. I just think
it's just him passing it on, innit?
I just realised that because he wasn't taking his HIV medication as well, this could have then developed into AIDS, which would have made this man a very sick man.
A very sick man. As in physically sick, as well as the mental sickness that he has.
Literally, what incarnation is going on? Is it carnation or tarnation? I don't know, but what the hell is going on? Both of them. And even his foster mum is like, when he rolls through to the crib, he looks unwell. Which obviously you'd expect, because this man has HIV and he's not taking any medication.
Yeah, his immune system is weakening before our very eyes.
week. So he must be sneezing, eyes watering and everything. Like,
I get so weak in the knees, I can
hardly
hardly speak. I lose all control.
Okay.
So I'd like the moods.
So Daryl is at home chilling, whatever, going for walks, eating a big dinner. And you know what? God bless white parents. Because they say that when this guy comes home, she's made his bed, she's got a cup of tea chilling for him.
He's been through a very traumatic time. He was interrogated, don't you know?
Energy it takes spreading HIV. Of course they need to make him apparently they made him a roast. The dog was there, open fire, this and that. I was just like, if I came home after
it's their kid, do you know what I mean? It's their child.
But if I came home after
if that was your child that had done what Daryl had done, and you're coming home, what are you doing for your kid?
You'd get a tongue lashing.
Okay, so he's not gonna eat.
No, you eat, but I'm not gonna make you your favourite dinner and put on a cuppa. Like, you'll drink, Gary, and sleep.
You might like that.
So, cool, everything's fine. He's at home. He's had his roast dinner. And then the next thing, this guy flees and is on the run. They find his tent somewhere with all his HIV medication, so he's back on that urine. He's still infecting other people. It's just, it's actually petrifying.
Yep.
So, in November, there's a manhunt launched for Daryl. And at this point, 22 men have reported him. So we are now in Newcastle, and I was really trying to study to see if I knew this guy, because Newcastle is so small, like, I thought
of you, actually, when they said Newcastle.
Yeah. You probably know everyone, and a lot of people worked at the company I worked at, because it was one of the biggest employers, so I was really looking at him like, have I seen you before? But I haven't. So we meet Tom from Newcastle, and he's...
We're even there at the same time, because this all was like, this ended in 2018.
Yes, but Tom would probably still go on to live in Newcastle. So
Tom. I thought you were talking about Gary Cole, aka Daryl Rowe.
No. Ain't nobody checking for him.
Tom, right.
So, Tom, the Newcastle victim, Tom, he's really, really cute, by the way.
Yes.
We'll talk a bit about Tom.
I hate that Daryl picked this guy.
I literally just want to give him a hug.
I hate it so much.
So much. So 3 days after he met Daryl moved in with him. And I was like, you lots are moving at lesbian speed.
Honestly.
This is crazy. Literally. And he lived with Tom. And Tom is just basically saying that, like, he hasn't had a lot of luck in love. He finds it difficult to talk to men. He almost thinks he's not worthy. So meeting Daryl, who introduced himself as Gary Cole, was very special for him. And
Tom feels really like he's quite shy. He's not very, I don't want to say he's insecure. I think he's just not very self-assured. I just think he's not very self-assured. Like, I think he's just very, like, a little bit of attention, and he was really flattered, and it was just like, oh, I feel good and complete and happy.
I think he had low self-esteem, though.
Yeah, I think he had low self-esteem.
Yeah. So quickly, Daryl, aka Gary, becomes quite controlling. Tom says that he wasn't allowed to go out. He wasn't allowed to do anything. He wasn't even allowed to watch the news, which makes sense. It's a flipping manhunt, so he's not going to want you watching the news. So this part's really funny because the police have tracked
I love this bit so much.
To Newcastle. And basically, I know that the producer was very shady putting this in, but he was tracked in a very weird way. So Daryl is on an escorting site, and the police officer tracks him by his penis. And
That's so funny.
Really want to see this penis.
Because how distinctive could this penis possibly be?
That's what I'm saying. It must be bent at a 90
degree angle. There might be a birthmark or something.
Probably. But then, like, I'm just like, how closely was this police officer studying this guy's penis? Because obviously the penis was in the texts that he was sending to other guys. Like, we gathered that the pictures the guys were receiving, his penis was in it. So fair enough, you see this in evidence, but how closely are you studying the penis to then know it in your sleep?
How weird was the penis that you saw it and you were like, aha, I've seen this before.
It's him. Yeah, I really want to see it now. The curiosity has, like, I might Goog actually just later on.
Well, you're in a room with that one.
On private. Okay, don't ask me what was weird about it.
No,
so when I find out, I'm gonna be like, there was something weird. So based on his penile equipment, they track him.
His penile form?
his penile form, and they arrest him at Tom's house. And the way they arrest him was really funny.
So this is the bit that makes me laugh.
Literally, they go to Tom's house and they knock on the door and they're like, "Does this lad live with you?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then they run upstairs. Like Tom's like, they ask him and they just run upstairs, and he must.
They were
be
like to
thinking,
him,
what the
but
fuck?
basically Tom was like, "Oh yeah, he's got a Scottish accent," and they hear Scottish accent and they like
they
zoom
run.
past him.
And I'm like, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a warrant? Like, you can't just be running up in somebody's house."
They can in the UK.
They run upstairs and he's nowhere to be found. So then Tom's like, well, the only way he could have escaped is through the window. And they look through the window and like Gary's lying there. Gary, aka Daryl, aka Gary, is lying there, and he's basically like hurt his back jumping out of the window.
And the narrator goes,
How did the police find him?
In pain. No, they found him on the deck, literally lying down, in a lot of pain. Obviously, couldn't move, couldn't walk properly. So, and that was in the neighbour's garden.
he tried to like jump out the window and he landed on his back, so he cracked his vertebrae. And imagine like you're trying to escape from the police and you're literally just lying on the floor. You can't move.
Lying on the floor. That reminds me. Well, it's not as funny. Well, it's not even funny, but it reminds me of Queen and Slim when they were trying to run. Have you watched Queen and Slim?
Yeah, I have.
Why'd you roll your eyes?
It was just so much. It was so like much to do about nothing. I enjoyed it at the time that I watched it, and then I looked back and I was like, "This was fucking wasting my time."
Really?
I like the soundtrack. Yeah, it was just
wow.
There was no so you know with Get Out, yeah, like the movie goes along, and at the end there's like respite. It's like, oh my goodness, praise Jehovah, right? Did you watch Get Out?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and then after like when Queen and Slim ended, it was like, so now I just go home depressed or what? There was no.
Yeah, but some movies are meant to be like that.
No,
though,
I'm sorry. That's real life. Why did I pay for a movie then?
In reality, though, in real life, that's what would have happened. In fact, in reality, they never would have even gotten that far. Like,
yeah, well, whatever. The soundtrack I love.
The thrill was in watching the journey.
Fair.
And watching them bond. Like,
Fair.
and how their actions affected other people.
Okay, we've heard.
Hey, God. But yeah, so it reminded me of that scene where they tried to escape and then she hurts her hand, but at least they do escape. This one, he was caught like a rat on the highway.
I'm on the highway, I'm driving all night long.
Okay,
Don't you remember in The Office? Don't you remember in The Office when they're singing?
Yeah. So, like I said, he was caught like a rat on the highway on the floor. And then they arrest Tom as well, which I never understood why they arrested
I didn't really
him.
understand that bit.
But then I guess they probably thought he was like a co-conspirator harbouring a fugitive or whatever.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. Okay. Maybe harbouring a fugitive makes more sense. Because how can I co-conspire to spread HIV via your penis?
Literally. I think we all have one unique penis. Well, not we, but they, men.
Yeah.
So Tom is locked up, Akon, for 4 hours. They're questioning him.
Do you know when he said it? I thought it was going to be like for days or weeks. He was like, I was locked up for hours. I was like, oh, okay. So
it takes me longer to do my braids, hun.
So a Netflix documentary.
Fam. So eventually he is let go. And then Tom says when he comes home, he finds condoms. And the condoms have like holes in them. So basically he says the nipple of the condom, it took me a while to grasp what that was.
Yeah.
But the nipple of the condom, the pointy bit that like you put on top of the head.
The bit you pinch.
Yeah, and scroll down. Roll down.
Scroll. You better scroll, baby.
You better scroll that condom. That bit was cut off. And that is petrifying.
That's crazy.
Because how?
Because what's the point of the condom?
Yeah, so this is literally what he's doing, basically. He's putting on the condom and they have holes in them. So you're really going out of your way to infect people.
This is what I'm saying. It's premeditated. You can't come and say, oh, I didn't know. Because one, we know that you're infected, okay? And we know that you are working with tampered condoms. So where is the saving grace?
Literally. But luckily for Tom, he tested negative for HIV. I think what really saved Tom was that Daryl had been taking those HIV medicines before. Literally, because I remember watching it being like, how did he, how? Because they were living together for a while. So they obviously
it was like
were
3
having
months,
sex
I think.
And regular sex. And we know that Daryl is a bareback, champion.
Right.
So
and if they're in a relationship, then it's likely that that's what was going on.
Literally. So how were you sleeping with this bareback bandit and
multiple times?
Literally. So then I clocked it's probably because of the HIV
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I didn't remember that.
medication. So Lenny, we're back to Lenny now, and this bit is heartbreaking.
Oh, goodness.
Because Lenny basically says that his parents, I think we mentioned earlier that Lenny is American, and his parents actually both died of AIDS. His dad was a junkie who caught it from a needle that he was sharing, and then passed it on to his mum. And then, you know, it was just kind of like they all knew once they had it, like it was a death sentence. And
especially back then.
Especially back then. And they died. And he, more than anything, was just like, he was never going to find himself in that position. Like, he always practiced safe sex. He didn't want to ever...
Like, he intentionally made decisions to avoid that.
Yeah, to avoid that. He never wanted to be able to say that he was HIV positive. And
now he is.
Yeah, and now he is. And he says...
I feel I've been a victim of rape. I feel like I've been violated. I feel like there is a right of mine that's been taken away without my consent.
Literally, that it makes you just feel like... He says he feels like he's been raped. Because he has done everything in his power. He can't even... He says that sometimes, you know, you catch an STD or you catch something, you say, well, okay, I was being reckless. I did, you know, have unprotected sex. But he was like... He literally did everything he could have done short of not sleeping with this person. And he still caught it. To be fair, though, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not blaming the victim here, though. I just think that people really do need to take full control of their, like, the people they allow into their space. Because from the stories some of these guys told, there were a lot of red flags with this guy before they got to even the having of the sex. So even with this Lenny guy, he says that he had told him multiple times that he wants to use condoms, they have to have safe sex. And Daryl was kind of like pushing back, even when he got to the house kind of thing, that it was just a weird vibe. But he still went on and had, you know, relations with him. And it's not to say, I'm not blaming him at all, because obviously if you want sex and two of you are consenting adults, do what you're gonna do. But I just think people just need to be... If a vibe is off about someone, because even beyond passing on of sexual whatevers, there's other crazy shit that I've heard, killers, this and that. If your gut is telling you, like...
I think it's easier to say things like that because it's like, okay, cool.
In retrospect.
You know, in retrospect, and also because it's easier to tell a normal person, look, protect your space. Like, it's easier to say to a woman, don't wear a short skirt and stuff, just be careful because men are mad, than to say to a man, just don't rape anyone. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, it's easier to say to Lenny, like, do you know what, the vibe was off, like, maybe you shouldn't have let him in kind of thing, than to say to someone like Daryl, like, you shouldn't have done that. And ultimately, it's not about whether what's his name, Lenny, let him in or had a weird vibe or whatever. Like, Lenny did literally everything he possibly could have done short of just not having sex with him. And I feel like the problem here is that Daryl was doing what he was doing. Do you get what I mean? Because with any other person, Lenny could have done that, or they could have had an off vibe or whatever, and it still wouldn't have resulted in what it resulted. And the reason that it went the way it went is because of Daryl.
Crazy. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, of course, no, that this doesn't take away from the fact that Daryl is like whatever, but it's just like, as like, okay, even as women, we can never put the blame on ourselves for being raped, whatever, but we still know, okay, like, if you're going home by yourself, you get an Uber, you check in, you do this, you do that, like, all these are all kind of safety measures you take to protect yourself. It's not about wearing a short skirt or this, it's just about creating environments where you're not putting yourself in harm's way. And I think
you're reducing the chances.
Exactly. And I think if the stories they are telling us are accurate, or unless they're kind of like, because sometimes when shit goes left, we do demonize people and in our heads, and we make the scenario seem what it was, and then we have ways our mind plays tricks on us. But if the way they narrate the story to us is how it happened, I feel like with Daryl there were certain red flags before they even got
flags, but they were like personality red flags. So imagine if this had nothing to do with HIV, and it was just a hookup. It would have been like, yeah, this guy's a bit strange, but whatever.
There's stuff on the card.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Get out. And at that time, like, you're not thinking, oh yeah, this guy could possibly have HIV and be passing it around to every man in the UK. So I mean, it's difficult. But
I guess also from a woman's perspective as well. if a guy is given weird vibes, we're more inclined to be like, nah, don't come to my house, because you worry about, it's probably not even things like HIV. It's obviously not HIV. It's like rape and flipping overpowering
it could be HIV, but
yeah, but it wouldn't be the
very
first
much
thing
like
that comes
the
to mind.
violence.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
for
you
a
think
guy,
violence.
even if a guy's giving weird vibes, you're like, okay, if he gets whatever, I can take him
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
kind of thing. So I guess it's just different, but yeah, like, just stay like alert to the vibes, especially when you don't know them, because again, another red flag for me was all these guys, like, and I guess it's also the norm with sex culture.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the grinder. If you're on Grinder, like, we're just trying to, I'm near. Okay, cool, let's fuck. And
yeah,
then
but
keep
it's not
pushing.
even that less meat. For me, what was crazy, and I think it's because I watch all these crime documentaries, you lot were going to each other's houses. Like,
Yeah.
I just keep thinking of of Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, you look like some of those men didn't even go to his house and they ended up dead. Like, you also
Yeah.
going to this guy's house, you don't know what he's on.
Yeah. I think going to people's houses is strange,
It's
but
wild.
like, not even like a hotel, like neutral ground.
You go to people's houses, and one of them even said that, like, oh, like, the area was a bit of a red flag for him, but he just thought, oh, well, like, fam, stop going to people's houses. Like,
Where do
don't
we
go to
do it
anyone's
then?
house.
On the bus? On the park bench? Where they
You'll
gonna
get a
go?
hotel.
We're not trying to spend money. This is a quick thing. It's just scratching the itch real quick.
Okay, well, when that itch has you flipping in Jeffrey Dahmer's fridge, then you'll know if the itch was worth scratching. So yeah, so basically Lenny did everything he could have done to not be in the position. It was just unfortunate that he found himself in that position based off of this
it's
guy's
really sad.
actions. So another one of the victims who didn't test positive is just basically saying that people probably are looking and thinking, just because he didn't get HIV, that means everything is okay.
Oh, this bit was
That-
sad as well.
It's very sad. He was like, a lot of his mental health issues have been triggered by this experience, which is natural. He's basically like, he misses the old him who was trusting, who could go out,
this was
who
Andrew,
could have
the Scottish
have
guy.
fun.
Yeah.
Literally, and it makes so much sense, because sometimes, like, it's not even that, okay, like, this or that happened to you. It's the fact that you were put in a position where it was possible. And
You're
like,
vulnerable
one thing,
and you can no longer trust your instincts, like
Literally,
your
and
views on other people.
your own views. And one thing all of the victims have said kind of like in common is there was an element of them blaming themselves
Which
at
is so
some point,
sad.
which is so sad, because like we just said, it's not, your fault.
It's not
Even
your
if
fault.
you could have done things to prevent it, someone should not be walking around like giving people HIV
Exactly,
for
and
free.
he was,
Like,
Daryl was so adamant that this is what he wanted to do. So it's almost as if, like, it's like when someone stalks someone, it's like, what can you do? Like, this person has decided that they've targeted in on you and been like, this
and they're
is the
gonna
person
do
that-
it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, I really wanted to highlight that, because I think if you do watch the documentary, which I recommend that you do,
Yeah,
there'll
I
be
do
people on
too.
there talking that are not victims in the sense that they didn't catch HIV, but we need to understand that they're still victims because somebody put them in a very kind of traumatic and
Yeah.
dangerous position.
And I really love the fact that, like you mentioned at the beginning, I assumed that all the guys shown were HIV positive as a result of their encounters with Daryl, but that's not the case. But it's like they're still victims in terms of, you know, the mental impact that that they've had and the turmoil within themselves, and it's really, really sad. It's like, why did he do all this?
Literally, and the gaslighting as well. Like, I'm
It's
sorry,
crazy.
but gaslighting is one of the worst mental forms of mental abuse, because it makes you feel so unsure of yourself, so crazy. Like, it's horrible, and a lot of these men were gaslit by Daryl.
Yep.
Yeah. So the producer gets to speak to Daryl from prison, and literally, when you're talking to this guy, he sounds sane. You wouldn't know that this guy was, you know, crazier than a bag of cats.
And this is why I don't mind, like, you know, when you're on the train, yeah, and there's like a crazy person like singing to themselves in the corner or like shouting and stuff. That's the kind of mad that I can respect, because I know that I need to not be around you. Not the CEO who's out here like planning to kill someone or stalking someone or
That's
just
carrying his
doing the
briefcase
madness.
in his suit,
Yeah.
and you think, oh, this guy is
But
somebody.
but literally, or beating on his wife. But he seems perfectly
Literally.
normal and fine. Those are the monsters that you're like,
Those are the
okay, nah,
crazies.
this is, yeah.
Literally. So they ask him kind of like why he did it. He says that he had been building an unhealthy relationship with sex, and he was convinced he could cure himself through urine therapy, which is why he continued to have unprotected sex, because he didn't believe that he really still had the HIV and could pass it on, because he was curing himself through this drinking of his
Get
urine.
the fuck out of here.
Literally. He admitted to not using a condom when he was asked to, and he knows that he used HIV as a weapon, because he just said that he was struggling with his diagnosis, and he hadn't come to terms with it. So, and it's just like,
you're just saying
it's
a
all
whole lot of
bullshit,
nothing. I'm not
because
gonna
you're
lie.
dragging other people down in your own self-loathing, or I don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Say this had happened all those years ago and it was like a death sentence, and it's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm taking everyone down with me. You have been offered medication to make it so that, first of all, you live a happy and healthy life, and so you can maintain an active sex life if that's what you want to do. No one is saying that you shouldn't be on Grindr, like having sex with whoever you want to. They've given you the tools, they're giving you the medication to do it safely. So it's safe for you and safe for whoever your partner is. And you said, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to drink urine and I'm going to spread it.
The thing is, I would really like to know, and if there are any healthcare professionals out there, please let us know. I don't know if people get therapy when they're given, like, as part of the help when they're given this,
diagnosis.
HIV. Because I'm not excusing Daryl at all, but people react to certain... It's just like when some people have cancer, are told they have cancer kind of thing. Like, some people are told they have cancer and they completely give up on the will to live. Some people... I know people who were diagnosed with cancer and actually refused all therapy. They were just like, if this is what it is, I'm going to die. I also know there are people who get this diagnosis and they're like, I can beat this. And even if they're being told they have 2 months to live, they are still holding on to that hope right until they close their eyes. I really would like to know when people are told because it's not a death sentence, but because of the stigmatization and because people are still unlearning that people have HIV, it doesn't mean they're going to die. It doesn't mean this, doesn't mean that. There's still a lot of unlearning around this. Just like there's a lot of unlearning around all STDs as well. Yeah. I would really like to know if there's therapy, because it seems like Daryl was coming from a rough childhood already. And what the vibe I'm getting with this whole HIV thing and him using it as a weapon is he got HIV obviously from having unprotected sex with somebody who he maybe trusted, or who maybe did to him what he's doing to these other men. Right. And then he goes on to do the same thing kind of thing. The cycle continues. I'd really love to know if there are any healthcare professionals out there, if you could just tell us if when people are given this diagnosis, are they given kind of like, even if it's just one therapy session to be like, listen, this and this and this, speak to someone about how you're feeling, blah, blah, blah. It's not that everybody who has HIV is going to go around and behave like this guy, but I think it's big news. Like you've got it's big news. It's literally big news.
Your life
is changing.
Will be the same for the most part, but it's changing because now you have to take this pill every day. And if you don't, the effects may be devastating. So I think it's just sort of like... maybe not therapy, maybe it's like counselling, more like
counselling,
probably sort of talking through, okay, so this is the new norm. I don't know, I would assume so, because also that's why they call you to tell you that you're positive, and they get you to come into the clinic so that you can have a discussion with someone who's qualified to have that conversation.
I hope so. So
I think for the most part, like, this is not... And this is the case with all people who do like mad things, This is not the norm. Like, not every person who is diagnosed with HIV is going to go around spreading it. Like, the majority of them are taking their retrovirals and living their best life. Like,
it's true. It's literally true. So, in the end of the conversation, he apologised to the victims and asked for their forgiveness.
And you can see their reactions. Like, you can see their reactions, because they must have played the tape back to each of them, and they were just looking so like, okay then.
Okay. So the documentary's come to an end now. We see his stepmother go to visit him, or not his stepmother, his foster mother. And we get told that Daryl was sent to life in prison, which in the UK is like 5 years. And then he was put on the sex offenders list. So, I mean, I don't know when he's going to come out, but he'll come out. Why is life in prison?
I really thought he was going to be there for life.
Nah. I know there are very few people who've been, and I don't even know if it's that they were in prison for life or if it's just that they ended up dying in prison. But prison, like, no sentence in the UK is what it says it is. Life in prison is in UK is not life in prison. Life in prison in America, they will bury you on that like prison ground
if they don't kill you first.
Literally, if they don't kill you first, I was quite surprised when I found that out though. I was like, surely in death you can pass these people on to their families to bury them, but they literally will bury you on that prison ground.
Oh really?
Yeah, I need to double check if it's that you don't have family, but there's a prison cemetery where they bury them. So really, you are doing life like in prison. I don't know
life and death in prison.
UK, I think it's about 14 years. I'm not sure, but I know
But
that
I
you
thought
don't...
normally they would say like, okay, you have 20 years and then maybe you'll be out in 10 or 16. But if it's like life, then it's like life.
I don't think they do life in prison in the UK.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't surprise
And
me.
also,
The
like,
UK.
another thing with America, why, like, the sentences are what they say they are, is because most of the prison system is privatized.
They're privatized, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, in the UK, like, it's... So they're trying to get people out ASAP.
No, but
like,
some of the UK ones are private.
Some, but for the majority, it is government.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I literally was doing this, having this conversation with my sister, so we were doing the research, and a lot of it is government owned. So that the taxes are paying, so they want to get people out.
HMP this and HMP that.
Exactly. So they want to get people in and out, in and out. Oh, is he rehabilitated? I can't even say. Rehabilitated? Let that out, nigga out. Like, next. In America, they're like, no, you are staying for life. Oh, you had a bit of marijuana, you are in for life. Literally a check, ka-ching. But yeah, that's the end of that documentary, guys.
I think it's really worth watching. It's really eye-opening.
Yeah.
And I think it's documentaries like this that are going to remove the stigma.
That
and
I just, yeah, I mean,
and AIDS.
I don't think the guys who were in the documentary, like, have listened to us, or I don't know if they will, but if they do, yeah, well done, because it's very difficult not just to come out and be like, oh, this happened to me, but I actually then have HIV. You're telling the whole world that in a world where it's still not understood fully. Yeah. So it's amazing, and yeah.
I think it was really good, and I think that them telling their story prevents someone else from doing a similar thing in terms of what Daryl Rowe did, and also kind of like highlights the importance of safe sex and insisting do you know what I mean? Where possible, yeah. But yeah, no, it was a really well done documentary. I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a very necessary topic to discuss. So,
yeah, I 120% agree.
Nice.
So, what are we doing next?
We're really switching gears because we're talking about sex still, but in a more fun way. We're doing a documentary called Swingers, which is on Channel 4. From the chandelier. Yes.
Would you ever swing?
I can confidently say my answer is no.
Yeah, no.
Quite confidently say my answer is no.
I can imagine, like, not even I can imagine myself, but I'm the kind of person that even if, like, I finally was like, oh yeah, cool, let's do it, let's swing, let's have a threesome. Like, if I even saw him looking at the other woman, I'd probably, like, snap. And then I'd be like, snapped.
And now it's the murder scene, and now the police are here, and now no one's having any
fun. Now look what you made me do.
Look what you made me
do, nigga. Look what you made me do. So we're gonna do Swingers next. It'll be fun to talk about sex in a more positive.
Something a little light. I feel like it's been quite heavy the past few episodes.
I have so many sex party stories, not my own. I've never been to one. If I had, I'd own it, but I've never. But just stuff people have told me and stuff I've read. So I'm interested to share those.
It'll be interesting to see how the other half live. Like, honestly, it'd be a good time.
I feel like I'd want to go just to see what it's about.
What's a sex party?
Yeah, but I wouldn't participate.
The thing, but I feel like it's almost rude. Like it's a safe space. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just go and like stare at people and gawk and be like, "Oh, this is what's happening. This is what's happening." Like,
oh, you put it in here?
Yeah, like literally, like you either go and participate or you piss off. Like, I just feel like you can't. You know what I mean? You can't.
Yeah, no. Obviously, I know you can't, but it's just that you just
drill a hole in the wall and be like,
like a glory hole. Like,
you'd be like,
okay.
Sally.
I did not know you could bend like that, girl.
But yeah, where can they find us?
They can find us on Twitter and Instagram at 2girls1doc. And also, guys, can I do a massive shout out to people who have been recommending us on our Twitter today? We've got loads of recommendations. Someone was asking about crime documentaries, and like 3 or 4 people recommended us. Thank you guys so much. Please keep it up, because this is what we want. More content to more people. So yeah. Where can they find you?
On Instagram and Twitter at BDOnEyewear, and also BDOnEyewear.com. Do you know I'm off social media for the moment, right? And my screen time has reduced by 57%.
Yeah, that was
my screen time this week has been 2 hours, an average of 2 hours and 2 minutes
per day. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Refreshing. I'm enjoying it. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at 4ends2_. And you can also find me on my other podcast, Character Replay. That is live.
Which comes out on Wednesdays.
Every Wednesday there's a drop. So stay sharp.
Alrighty, well, I'm going to play the documentary. No, I'm not. I'm going to play the trailer is what I'm going to play. I'm going to play the trailer for Swingers, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
We had about 170 people in last night. So we're queuing up like they were waiting for a bus. Not unusual. Oh, God. They've moved the bed. The bed's moved. Oh, I'm going to have to do it with some gloves. It's not nice picking up other people's used items, but this is all part of the job.
One second, please. I need to take off my hoodie. I'm way too hot.
Oh, okay. I just want to see you strip right now. I've been waiting. Think I'm gonna make a move.
You went from 2 different songs.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm actually a DJ. Do you know in my head I'm actually a DJ? Like it's just natural. It's just natural.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.